Welcome to datascience.show, the podcast where data science meets executive leadership. We talk with top AI and analytics thought leaders about turning data into real business impact. If you're a C-level leader or data expert shaping the future, you're in the right place.
Picture this. A retail personalization engine rolls out a new ranking tweak. The product team celebrates higher click rates. Marketing says engagement is up. But 3 months later, finance flags a subtle, persistent drop in average order value for a key cohort. Small percentage each week, but steady. No alert screamed. No one connected the dots. The company lost real margin before anyone realized the models were quietly steering the wrong outcomes. Today, I'm going to show you how to find those leaks, attribute them with conservative rigor, and fund fixes that protect the P&L. This is a decision-first, non-technical playbook for executives who need answers fast. From models to measurable value, that's our North Star.
Here's my thesis in one sentence. Leakage is an economic signal, not a technical blame game. When an AI decision pathway changes dollar outcomes, leaders must demand dollarized observability and quick, finance-ready attribution. If you treat every anomaly as a science experiment alone, you lose time and margin. Treat it like a finance problem first, then back it with technical evidence.
What should you ask your teams and vendors to produce immediately? First, dollarized deviation curves. Plot expected revenue versus realized revenue over time and show the monetary gap, not just percentages. Second, cohort delta maps. Which customer segments diverged and by how much in dollars? Third, revenue per decision traces. Tie individual decision outcomes back to revenue signals so you can see which decision points carry weight. Fourth, ensemble disagreement heat maps. When models disagree, that's a red flag for higher variance in expected outcomes. And finally, targeted sample audit checks. Pull representative transaction samples from divergent cohorts and walk them with product and finance to confirm impact. These signals prioritize conversations with procurement, product, and the data team. Once you have signals, attribution is next, and it needs conservative rules. Use marginal attribution windows. Look at revenue deltas narrowly around the change date to avoid confounding seasonality. Run backfill cohort tests. Replay historical decisions with the previous policy to estimate what would have happened. Create counterfactual holdouts where feasible, a short, controlled rollback to validate causality. Trace at the transaction level to see whether the decision, input data, or orchestration layer flipped the outcome. And apply conservative blame assignment. If multiple components could explain the gap, allocate only a portion of the dollar impact to any single cause until validated. Label early findings as decision support, not definitive verdicts. You'll see a handful of common leakage archetypes. Calibration drift. Model scores slowly become poorly aligned with true outcomes, and you start pricing or routing wrong. Feedback loops. Recommendations that change user behavior in ways the model wasn't trained for, amplifying small biases into revenue loss. Routing or orchestration errors. Decisions being sent to the wrong experiment bucket or the wrong price engine. A/B experiment bleed. Control group contamination that dilutes expected lift. Integration mismatches. Currency, time zone, or rounding differences creating cents per transaction leaks. Pricing skew. Micro-pricing changes that lower basket value for a profitable cohort. Each of these shows up differently financially, and each demands a different remediation cadence. How do you dollarize impact in a way finance will accept? Start conservative. Translate signal velocity, the dollar gap over time, into a 30-day and 90-day projected loss using simple linear assumptions and a downside sensitivity. Pair that with a high-level estimate of remediation cost. Redesign higher cost. Show expected payback periods. Insist on a 30-day validation window before any large capital allocation. When estimates are auditable and conservative, procurement and finance are far more likely to fund action. Now, remediation lanes, prioritized by expected margin recovery per dollar spent. First, containment. Rate limits, cohort freezes, or throttles you can flip quickly to stop bleeding. Second, compensation. short-term credits, or targeted customer remediation when containment hurts experience. Third, tactical hotfixes, quick code or config changes that realign decision logic, small teams, short timelines. Fourth, funded redesigns, full rebuilds of models, data pipelines, or orchestration with racy, milestones, and a staged budget. Always pair remediation with measurement gates, stop and check criteria after 7, 30, and 90 days so you can either scale the fix or roll back. Prioritize actions that buy you time while you validate root cause. Don't forget procurement and vendor levers. Insist on telemetry clauses in contracts. Vendors must expose decision-level traces or provide an agreed export for audits. Negotiate revenue-linked attestations or performance-triggered credits. If their model causes measurable leakage, the vendor shares remediation cost. Seek escrowed remediation funds for higher-risk deployments and require audit access for one-off investigations. Finally, demand contractual uptime for financial observability, not just model availability. These levers shift risk back onto vendors and make remediation conversations less adversarial and more contractual. Here's a compact 30 to 90-day pilot blueprint you can brief the board on. Week 0 to 2, pick one revenue-critical flow. For example, checkout promotions or a top-tier personalization funnel. Instrument minimal revenue forensics traces, transaction ID, decision inputs, model score, routed outcome, and realized revenue. Week 2 to 4, run initial attribution rehearsals, dollarized deviation curves, cohort deltas, and sample audits. Week 4 to 8, apply conservative containment or a tactical hotfix while measuring recovery. Week 8 to 12, validate attribution with a small rollback or holdout and prepare a one-page board brief with 3 KPIs: leak velocity, dollars per day, attribution confidence, low, medium, high with supporting evidence, and cost to remediate. If the pilot shows positive payback within the validation window, scale observability and remediation funding. Before we close, 3 executive actions you can take this week. 1. Demand dollarized telemetry on any high-impact decision flow. No more percentage-only reports. 2. Require a 30-day attribution rehearsal for any unexplained revenue deviation before approving large remediation budgets. 3. Add a telemetry and remediation clause to major vendor contracts so responsibility and access are clear. Do these 3 things and you convert noisy alerts into funded decisions that protect margin. Remember, models are tools, not guarantees. Your job is to engineer trust in the economic outcomes they produce. If you want the one-page revenue forensics checklist, the exact signals, KPIs, and the 30-90-day pilot template, subscribe to datascience.show and we'll send it to our listeners. Protect margin, fund the right fixes, and turn anomalies into measurable recovery. That's the difference between models and value.
Thanks for listening to datascience.show. If you found value in this episode, subscribe, share it with your network, and join us next time as we explore how data science drives smarter decisions and better business outcomes.